I have been suspending my videos on stalking for the past, I would say 6 weeks, because I was displaced, I was evicted as I tried to save my cat that was lost anyway. And I've been trying to find my cat since, because it's my only friend, like real friend in these years of stalking. It's like it happens um, to many other victims of this kind of stalking through defamation, online defamation, demonization. That is the most common ways nowadays, offline and online defamation, to first, as I was explaining before, to first separate women from their contacts, their support net. It's not that I ever had a very big, strong support net, and certainly people that are more marginal in societies are obviously a target, because it's easier to victimize them by psychiatrizing them and criminalizing them, as I was explaining in the previous videos. And I was also explaining how head injury to the frontal lobes can be used to psychiatrize and criminalize a victim that has already been marginalized via online and offline identity theft. Because in the moment that you hit a person on the frontal lobes, this person will lose the capacity to filter information and to filter communication. And in the first months, and often even a year or two of head injury, and it can be more if you do not receive, if you do not do a proper rehabilitation to recover your speech, to recover your social skills, to recover. And so it is very important to say that, because even when you are someone who writes, for maybe articles, you maybe are a journalist, you maybe are a scientist or an academic, it doesn't change anything, because once you are a victim of post-traumatic head injury, you're just losing a lot of mnemonic and skill, and communication skills and abilities. So you are simply not the same person anymore, even if you might retain your ability to do research. And you might also retain your ability to express yourself normally for certain hours or days or occasions, and then regress again to confusing one word for another. That is a very common thing. And just having a lot of unfiltered communication, just like a child, really. And people who are around you who do not understand that, because obviously as an adult we have the capacity to understand things that children can't. And when we suffer head injury, what happens is we still understand things as an adult. So what to express in that strongly blunt and direct, over direct way that is often inappropriate for an adult, will come across like you are crazy, and you're not crazy, you just had that injury. But the difficulty with that is that the police will not take you seriously. Social services even might not take you seriously if you're not able to somehow explain what you need and why you communicate like that or you behave like that, etc. It's you're not back to normal. So like when all those jokes about people hitting their heads, it's not by chance, because you do look stupid, but it's not fun. You can look stupid or sound silly, but it's not funny. It's not funny at all. So that is one thing. And what I wanted to talk about today, though, is like how when we go, like if I just had someone who had been through that, and through the head injury as well, I just wish that they had given me the right advice, but not in the sense of telling me what to do. That is just the worst thing you can do to a victim, or telling her that it's all in her mind. That I think should be a criminal offense, because it's what society does in 99% of the cases when they want to put you away. Say that it's all in your mind and you're crazy, or say, well, there is this and that, there is, you can go to that, you can go to that, I give you some links, and that's it. So I've done my bit. I told you that you can go to the mental health services, and you can go to the police, and you can go to the lawyer bar, whatever. You can go to the refugee thing, and you can do this and you can do that. But nobody wants to listen. Like as soon as they, like for instance, today my car was vandalized for the end time. I don't know how. I mean, my car lost the casco insurance because of the vandalism, not because I did accidents. It's just pure vandalism, like all over. Bumps, drills, locks, all the locks. And I was late today, and I was told off. And I was asked what happened, but I was told off anyway, because it's just given for granted that you can. I would just head back to someone that tells me off when I am when I am not unreliable for something I have done, but I am unreliable because someone did something to my car and I was stuck there. And if you tell me off because you are my employer, I just don't want to be your employee anymore, obviously, because you do not respect women if you do that, and you do not respect victims of violence in any case. I mean, especially gender violence, it should be like something that people by now are aware of, but the society is still telling women that she's crazy, that what she needs is, they all try to put the victims to get fixed, but nobody wants to fix the stalkers, like that would make more sense, to send the social services to the stalkers, not to the victims, because it is them who need to the stigma and the psychiatrization. And that's what social services do, in my opinion. Then I don't know yet. I mean, if they can also do something useful for people, I'll find out. I hope so. But certainly the first thing to give a woman should be a lawyer, not a psychologist, not a social service, just a psychologist, just a lawyer that is good at listening to people, like a psychologist, because lawyers should do that, should be able to understand what the person in front of them needs, even if they are disabled. So they should really learn a bit of psychology. in my opinion, lawyers, to be able to handle their victims without, you know, also privately. I found a lawyer at the time of the eviction that was like an angel, like that was fallen from the sky, a Chinese man. And this guy did my whole summons for free. No, only a Chinese person could do such a thing. And or a pure idealist. But this guy at some point was tired of reading my answers to his questions, because my answers were long and accurate and a bit too detailed because of my speech disorder. And so he asked to talk only to the other lawyer, the Italian one, you know, that was but that is the lawyer of my father, and so that didn't allow me any privacy to communicate directly with my lawyer, which a client needs, even if you have disabilities, you know, even if you have even mental disabilities, you still that need that. But if you do not have any mental disability, so called, I mean, I don't believe in crazy and all that, because I am totally with Dr. Giorgio Antonucci, who um, completely uprooted the, the psychiatric system in Italy, and said illnesses are just physical, which is a very important point that I agree with, and everything else is just problems to solve. So he just freed the so-called nutters that were like people, and especially women, that were kept, that they were considered the most dangerous at the time in this psychiatric ward where he was sent as the most dangerous part of the, and it was just women that were poor and that had disabilities and that people did not understand. And these women had been locked up to their beds. They were actually locked to their beds. They were dressed just in like uniforms of white. The hair was cut, shaved, and they could not have mirrors, and they were given medicine like psychiatric medication. That is just the worst crap that you can do to your body and to your mind and to your soul, or to someone else's, especially someone who was victim of violence. You just add more poison. It's like after you know, like Vietnam, I always use that example, was bombed by pesticides from the American, you know, it was, they threw pesticides. There's still there is still the orange effect in Vietnam because of that, apart from the fact that you can still smell the war, because you can just still smell the illness and the disease and the insanity that that left. I couldn't survive Vietnam very long. And there people still grow with orange skin, you know, and deformities because of what the pesticides did. And it's like if you tell nature that has been just poisoned by that crap, you add more crap. So you go on a woman that has been assaulted, has been victim of murder or rape, and you just point the fingers on her, tell her that she's not good at working anymore, she's not good at talking anymore, she's not good at having relationships anymore, she's not trustable, it's her fault if she's a victim of violence. And furthermore, you are gonna tell that woman that she's crazy, and maybe even responsible for what she was, like the girl with the short skirt was responsible because she had been raped. It's just the same crap. It's just like telling a woman that it was her fault that she had a short skirt. And how can you change the culture, which is the point of this whole video, and all my videos about stalking? Well, first of all, stop to tell a woman that you do not want to be involved. When you ask her why she's late, why she comes with the bump in her face, why her car is all broken, like this morning. Apart that creep was probably a stalker himself, because he was like hanging around my car since the moment that someone came to help me to open it, because I had been locked out of it. And this guy was just laughing, just laughing a lot. He found it very funny, and he was asking me, so how come that happened, and as this was really, really funny. And he doesn't know what kind of hell I've been through in the past 4 years with that car, that it was already fraud. I already paid it like £1,000 more, because that guy just took advantage of the fact that I understood fuck about cars. And after that, it was just vandalized and vandalized and vandalized, and up to a point the insurance covered, and then it didn't cover anymore, after 4 years. Like first it was the windows, then it was the windshield, then it was the lockers, then it was another lockers, then it was another locker, then I fixed one locker, it was another locker, then it was the bumper, then it was the mirror, because the truck trying to run over me from the left, to overtake me from the left, and then I escaped from him and he followed me. And all these things, like when you go through stalking and you talk about it, because it becomes your normality, people think you are nuts. So you must not talk about it. Like, if I could go back and advise myself when it all started, it's 2021, I wouldn't send the police one report without contacting a lawyer first. The first report it should be done by a lawyer. Then the other ones you can do by yourself, maybe. But when you are under stress, when you are under terror, when you are under fear, the worst thing that you can do is contact the police for yourself. Like, I really wish someone had told me this at the time, because it would have changed. We need a camera. It would have changed everything. Like, if I hadn't gone to the police at the time, because what they will do is they will try to interfere with your communication with the police, and there is thousands of ways that this can be done. And if there is even a slight chance that your stalker has anything to do with the police, or is in any good terms with the police, or with anyone else in the community who is in good terms with the police, the last thing that you should do, even more, is going to the police yourself or calling the police yourself and assume that you will be treated the same. Because the police, the general police officer that will take your report, apart from the fact that they are completely not trained to really deal with victims, like they are the last people that you want to talk to when you are a victim, because just of the way they talk, the way that they see you to speak, the way that they expect you to be able to explain things in the short, and like, you are not a machine, you do not know the things that the police need to know best when you are in that state. A lawyer can know that. When I was talking to my father, that a jurist can know that. When I was talking to my father, that that bastard that is the jurist. I mean, I shouldn't call that man my father. But he was the only person that was understanding minimally the situation at the time, at least from the point of view of the domestic violence. My father doesn't understand the bigger picture, because he has been stalked by the Masons, not the Freemasons, the old Masons, like and it's a rather different thing, because the Masons in Italy is it's like a bigger, I don't know, I think it's an older, maybe I don't know exactly the difference between the Freemasons that I met in the UK and in France and in the Netherlands, that were, I mean, the same, different people, different lodges, different countries, but they are cooperating between themselves. And then there is the old Massoneria, as it's called in Italy, as like la mafia e la massoneria. It's what you hear when you grow up in that country, even though you're in the north, and that it's known to be in the south. Then it's everywhere, because there is this whole story about the tangenti and the money laundering in Italy, right? And so that is another thing. It's like an old. It's the older generation. Maybe it's the Mediterranean. I don't know the difference. I am not an expert. I am not. I'm still studying before that article is published, because I'm studying who they are. But one thing I can know the difference, like from, for instance, the traditional mafia and the 'ndrangheta and all that organized crime in Italy, that I have known a little, because I lived in Italy, because I worked for a real estate agent that was 60 but had boyfriends that were 30 and were in the 'ndrangheta. Bloody hell. And I know a little, and this 'ndrangheta and mafia and massoneria people from the traditional school that I know in Italy didn't do, I don't know, I mean, they did things like old school, like my father was always like, oh, don't say that on the phone, because our phone is under control. And it was, I mean, either from the police or the mafia guys. And that is why the government changed me name twice and surname, because of my father, because I'm the daughter of a public figure. Otherwise it's impossible in Italy. And you don't just change the name because your father or mother, but if they had problems, if you had problems because of that. And in spite of it, the culture is so bad here that it's so really so bad, because it should be completely illegal. It should not even have a right in court. You know, I told the lawyer of the counterparty of the landlady that my name should be protected, and it's not paranoia what I'm talking about stalking, because the government changed my name twice because of it, and it wouldn't have done it. It's not just my name, not just modify my surname, it just changed it completely, to dissociate it completely from my father. And when my father published my name, that had been changed again on his website, because he made me sign his letter of grace, la lettera di grazia. It's like a letter where you ask, like the president, for instance, to condone on years of jails, for instance. My father was criminalized because he insulted judges and lawyers. Now I can understand why. Holy fuck, I understand now. I was like, Dad, why do you care? Why do you insult them? I don't, you know what? but then they do really, really bad things, lawyers. They are really criminal lawyers. It's a bad thing to be. It's a bad thing to be, unless you want to be a very good one, but otherwise it's a bad thing to be, because I don't know even if you can be a good lawyer. Um, so yeah, some idea to change, how to change the culture, some considerations. So when something happens to a woman, even in the daily life, I am just realizing how you cannot be back into society, but not even have a home, not even have a home or a job, because as soon as I got to a place, even though, I'm not planning to stay for a long time or anything. It's just trying to save my cat and my life, my cats, both of them. And then move to some place that is not as oppressive as Canal, because I mean, if you cannot go to the police, where do you go when something happens, and if the police puts you in that situation that you can no longer talk to them, if you do not have an interpreter and a social assistant and a lawyer and all these figures just to do a fucking report on stalking that I should have done a year ago, because in July last year I was already asking no contact to the bastard. And how am I going to call him, Because you get to a point of exasperation if you choose the route that normal people choose, that is to go to the police right away when you are a victim of murder or rape or whatever. Or any kind really of online identity theft and threats, anything that puts at risk your life and gives you anxiety about your ability to survive, and someone is stalking you every night wherever you go to sleep, that kind of thing. You need a lawyer, but you need a lawyer before you go nuts. Like before you lose the filters, whether it's for head injury, whether it is for exhaustion, whether it is because you're angry, before you get to that point that you don't even run away from your stalker because you want to break his fucking head and smash all his teeth and deviate him forever, and all that kind of stuff that who is she, like that wonderful psychologist Teal Swan. I advise her to everyone that is listening, Teal Swan, and especially advise the completion process. If I didn't have to fight so much for a restraining order, I would be reading all her books and so many other more. Because T.L. Swan talks about the fact that when we feel a profound dislike, rejection, or attraction for another, it's always something that is missing or rejected inside. And she does this work that is very similar to indigenous works of healing, that is about accepting all the sides of self and putting them into communications so that you arrive to forgive even your offender when you are healed. But she does that by letting you acknowledge your anger and your desire for revenge that is human, and that society has wanted to annihilate in women to the point that a woman is bad if she doesn't turn the other cheek. That a woman is bad if she wants to break his fucking teeth. That a woman is even worse if she says that, The law does recognize that you can kill someone that trespasses your property, even your landlord or landlady, because you are renting, so that's your space, and that it's like it's something that nobody can argue with, So if you when you rent, You cannot have that, and you are obliged to say yes, otherwise you go in the streets. That law still applies, even if that man is your husband. But imagine if that man is not even your husband, is not even your boyfriend, is not even your friend, is not even the boyfriend or husband of the person that you're renting or working for, because at least you could have known in beforehand, right? But no, it's just someone that lives there in a caravan, in this case, and this someone had the power to put me in the streets, and he has continued to stalk me afterwards. He put me in the streets with fake police reports because of how I handled it 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. Every time I gone to the police without understanding this. And then when I found myself in a house where basically the offender was almost friends with the police, because what happened is absolutely extraordinary. I mean, I would say more than friends, because I've never seen something like that. I've never seen it. Like, I never thought that this could happen to me, because a police report that gets moved into someone else's name because of the influence that this man had on that woman, that had the influence on the other woman and on other, it's just unbelievable that this influence could affect a police officer to remove a police report, that is for the theft of my Ace account that did not belong to my landlady, and my landlady was not my wife. But even if she had been, I don't think that would have been allowed, unless you were completely mental and there was like a court order saying that your wife can take your police reports for you. But then all the other police reports, then she should have taken, but she was neither my wife, nor my tutor, nor my mental nothing. I was good enough to sign a contract under duress, under illicit police reports, and that my disabilities didn't count. But when I go to make a report about what happened to my cat and how it was stolen and how this man was involved, which I didn't say at the time of the report, because I couldn't risk that everything would. I understood his influence. I understood that he was not central to the matter of that of the need of taking at least one of them out that were involved in it. And I just said, and I just thought, if I tell them that this guy was present and heard what happened, then they will immediately invalidate it. But even before I thought that, because on that day already, the landlady came with me to do the police report. And when the police report was printed, the police report did not speak about a cat, but I only saw that months later. I spoke about my car that had already been reported. And it was not the reason why we had the appointment. It took me like 2 weeks to have that appointment, because when I reported the theft, the police did not come right away. And animal protection came, but they didn't help, because they said they were not law enforcement and they did not have the legal ability to even investigate it and check the microchips. And so I just think back and how I could have handled all these, and the truth is you're extremely fragile in this moment, because especially if you do not have friends and family. So if you do have friends and family still near, try to get to the police with them if you cannot afford a lawyer. But if you don't, you must afford a lawyer, because everything that will happen after will cost much, much, much more. Even if the lawyer costs a lot, whatever happens after will cost more. Because when you cannot afford to stay still in one place, when you have to keep moving, everything crumbles. You lose everything. You lose your finances, you lose your mental health, you lose your stuff. You have to buy everything over and over. You will have 3 of the same thing that you don't need when you are moving, and that will just widen your clutter, like, and you will just have more things to move around with you, to just have you just need to try and be very practical when you're a survivor, and you just need to have plan A and plan B and plan C, and you need to be mobile. So my advice is, if I could go back, make a trailer house. And it's not the advice to stay in the trailer house, but it's the advice to do not live at your registered address. Register at one address, live somewhere else, so that the problems in there are minimized, with the neighbor, with the, with everything, all the shit that they can do, which is immense. I didn't know what people can do when they know your address, but it's really massive. Try to not leave, and not only to not have, but in some cases it's not possible that you because you will always leave traces, and it's almost impossible to register at an address and that your stalker doesn't know, because your stalker is in your phone. First of all victims of stalking nowadays, they're hacked from the phone. It's just super easy, and it's super cheap now. Like before, it was like a matter that you needed at least 1,000 euros, or now it's super cheap. Like you can really do it for I don't know exactly how much, because I only seen the prices of the website that this guy was using to stalk mine, and I do not know how he could access this website, because it's also in the US. I guess he used a VPN. But that was like something like 79 dollars per month or something. It wasn't much at all. Maybe there is different subscriptions that he had to pay to control different apps, because aura.com uses app control. It's remote control, so you're basically controlling the phone of the other person. Like if it was your child or your employee, you have complete access to their phone, and you don't need to jailbreak it yourself. In that case, there is many methods to. I am not an expert of jailbreaking, but I'm an expert of surviving. And the worst thing that you can do is to leave your car where you sleep. So it's something that you need to work out. Even if you are alone, you cannot leave the car where you sleep unless it's under the camera. You cannot be registered somewhere. You cannot talk to people about what's happening. So unless I advise that if you have a job and you are late for stalking, you do tell them, because the culture needs to change. But you need to make it very short, and you need to make it in a way that you tell them, okay, something vandalized my car, someone can vandalize my car. Just tell them the fact. Make a video, this happened, and then when they will say all these things all happened to you, don't answer. That's what was told to me today. That's what they say all the time to try, and then they try to make you guilty. You just send them the photo, but don't answer, don't engage. Just make them feel ashamed of themselves for blaming you, the victim, on top, you know, because it's just the bullies and the bastards who do that. It's just really the low culture of machism that has taught people, men and women, to do that. So, on top of the fact that you are a victim of like really atrocious violence, and that, you know, maybe your loved ones have died because of that, maybe your pets have died, maybe your children have died, maybe you were separated from your family because of that, maybe you lost your homes because of that, but they don't fucking care. They're still keeping salt in you, you know, and being sorry for themselves and all their little disgraces, but about you and your history, they don't give shit. They will keep blaming you, and if you normalize it by making excuses, by telling them other stories, you just keep contributing to the invisibilization of victims. It's important that we stop justifying ourselves, that we stop apologizing, that we stop, you know, unless you are in a situation where someone is particularly psycho. And in that case, you know, that person is just abusive to you because they are nuts. And so, you know, like that person is the only way to have an income or to have a registered address. Okay, try not to live there anyway. Try to be, if you work for them, try to stop working for them and find another job. If you live there and it's difficult to find registered address because it's really difficult, just keep it and just be very short and cut it to the short. You know, say, sorry, I was late. Well, that's what happened. And I mean, I've been in the situation of being with a lot of crazy people that will blame you for it, you know, and that are just nuts, and you cannot. But in that case, I would apologize, because when someone is really crazy, it's best to say, well, instead of saying sorry, would say, well, I'm sorry that this happened when I was working for you, you know, but this is what happened. Closed. It blames you, ignore them. Don't work for them again. Don't put yourself in the situation of being reliable about something. Don't make appointments and don't be involved with people before they know about you, because when things happen and you are unreliable because someone did you harm, you are just going to look more unreliable. If you tell them that what happened to you, they'll just blame you and say, why do all these things happen to you? You must be really crap. Because this is not because you're crap, but because people are crap. And this is how people think, because they do not use a brain. They just think with the pseudo I don't know what to call it, you know. I don't want the pseudo brain that people share in society, that think. So I just share some thoughts, and I hope we help somebody, because I'm never planning exactly what I'm gonna say, and but yes, I'm just sharing the thoughts of the day really each time, and I hope that more and more women will talk freely in front of a camera, in front of the people that they know, in front of society that continues to abuse us, and to normalize violence by saying that it's not happening, and by turning the head, and by blaming the victims, and by further marginalizing. We need to make it illegal. We need to make people afraid of doing that. We need people afraid of the shame. We need to shame people for that. And if we don't do it when we are victim, if we don't do it with your parents, you know, like with your family, with your sisters, with your brothers, with your mothers, with the friends, with the groups that are all for the great goddess, but when the great goddess is harmed in our human bodies, nobody gives shit to heal women in the circle like all native cultures knew how to do, ever. Society just points the fingers at women and just take them away from their homes and from the spaces and from the security, and the person cannot have a, a safe space where to lock themselves and sleep. You know, not even that. But this is where society is going, and it will continue like that if we don't learn to speak, even when it's difficult, even when it's not perfect, because we are not machines to talk in front of cameras and to talk in front of crowds. We're just people. And this could happen to anybody. Stalking can happen to anybody, can happen even to a man. And I really wish it to a lot of men. So, my dear victims of violence, why don't we do like an association to stalk the stalkers and give them hell? That would be nice. Just to do the things that they did to us, including the line of identity theft and the videos, revenge videos. we should, we should, we should do them of men. We should just have groups of women that do what women do when they gang stalk women. What men do when they gang stalk women. We should do that to those creepy men that are all the age of my fucking father. That would be nice, because when I got those accusations from the hell of a lawyer, I mean that hell of a troll, because that's not a lawyer, I thought, what the hell? Like, that's a lawyer that can write these things, you know. Because she was thinking that I was so defenseless that I would not even go there to the church, to the court. But we could call it the church, because until it's in the hands of the Freemasons, it's not a place of secular power. It's a place of religious power, because the Freemasons are religious, and they dominate in every aspect of society. So we are still under the Middle Ages.